If someone tells you, you don't look transgender, oh my god, you look like a real guy. These are not compliments. It says.
This is Adam Harry, India's first transgender pilot. Harry was assigned as female at birth, but transitioned to male. He says he was declared unfit for flying on the grounds that he was receiving hormone replacement therapy. His fight against transphobia paved the way for a more inclusive workspace. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation for the first time framed new medical guidelines. Another person who brought in transformation for the trans community in India is Padma Lakshmi. In March this year, she became the first transgender from the state of Kerala to become a lawyer. The journey was far from easy. Lakshmi had to fight many misconceptions and prejudices along the way.
Recently, I went to the commissioner officer for putting in complaint against one anti-social and anti-LGBTQ. Some officer asked, what is LGBTQ? This is systemic issue, systemic failure. It's a curriculum failure because we need to change the curriculum. We need to upgrade the textbook. We need to provide more classes to the authority. These are important factors.
But the transgender community still faces serious difficulties in accessing job opportunities.
The 92% of transgenders, educated transgenders, not getting the job, employment issue. Some people are providing job to the trans or queer people and tell to others, tell to the society, I provided job to one member. This is like a favor. Job is a right, not one person's favor.
Today, Lakshmi wants to use her legal education to ensure justice for the poor and marginalized in the community.
Private hospitals, I'm not blaming to any persons in any hospitals. Some person is feeling not good to the treatments. Lots of data issues, privacy issues, discrimination issues. I'm working with our IMG for making a protocol, transgender health protocol. Kerala government inaugurated creating a protocol in order to avoid the medical negligence, in order to avoid discrimination. The government is planning to correct all those things. Need a proper guidelines.
Trans people exist across all classes, races, castes and countries. But their recognition has always come at a cost, with added struggle. Let's take a look at some of the sectors where transgenders have persistently been discriminated against.
This law prohibits men from competing on a team or as an individual against women in college sports.
Texas enacted a law limiting transgender athletes in June this year. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott signed into law a controversial bill banning transgender athletes from competing in college sports teams.
Women's sports are being threatened. Some women are being forced to play against biological men. Women's college athletic teams are being threatened. Collegiate records that women set are being threatened. Women's sports, women's records, women's teams, women's dressing rooms, all are jeopardized when men are allowed to compete for those teams, for those titles.
The bill, known by supporters as the Save Women's Sports Act, requires athletes to play in the team that corresponds with their gender at birth, regardless of their gender identity. Proponents of such restrictions have argued that transgender women have a physical advantage over cisgender women, and that the regulations give female athletes equal opportunities to compete. Opponents find such restrictions discriminatory. In December 2020, Elliot Page revealed in an Instagram post that he is a transgender man. The Umbrella Academy star's announcement was met with an outpouring of love, but he also faced prejudice. Page, who charmed America as a precocious pregnant teenager in Juno and constructed dreamscapes in Inception, took years to come out in the open. Despite the hate against him, the Oscar-nominated actor is committed to ensuring that the world accepts and understands trans people everywhere. Transgender representation in entertainment has taken small steps in recent years.
I want to invite you to open your heart and your feelings to feel the reality.
In 2018, Daniela Vega became the first transgender presenter at the 90th Academy Awards ceremony. It took the Academy nearly 90 years to give a transgender such a platform. From the United States, Danica Ruam is the first openly transgender lawmaker in America after she was elected in 2017. To Honey Mahogany, who became the first black openly transgender person to win an elected post in California in 2020. Transgender people have gained prominence in politics not only in the US, but across the world. In the Philippines, Geraldine B. Roman became the first ever transgender politician to be elected to the House of Representatives. In India, Shabnam Mausi Bano is the first transgender to be elected to public office. She was an elected member of the Madhya Pradesh State Legislative Assembly from 1998 to 2003.
The injustice, public stares.
Trans persons are particularly vulnerable to human rights violations when their name and sex details in official documents do not match their gender identity or expression. And change will come only when power can be given to them. States have the power to put an end to the ordeal faced by trans and gender diverse persons and foster their education. And one of the beginnings was this. Nearly 9 years after the historic National Legal Services Authority NALSA judgment of the Supreme Court of India, which recognized transgender persons as a third gender and issued directions to protect their rights and dignity, the movement to secure reservations for trans people in public education and employment is gaining momentum. But there's a long way to go. Transgender people continue to face hatred and discrimination, whether on the streets, at school or work, at home or at the hands of government officials. It is only through public education, policy change and community efforts that change can be brought about. Trans lives matter, and it's time the world starts taking note of it.